Okay, it looks like we're live, so fingers crossed that this works. Um, Hello, everyone. How is everyone doing tonight? Another episode of Here Today, Gone Tomorrow is episode number 6. We're talking about some spicy stuff tonight because I felt, again, because this whole podcast was born out of the idea that the news cycle is fleeting and just is constantly changing, and what's important is constantly changing. And I wanted to talk tonight about a couple of things that, might be a little inflammatory. I guess that's the point. That's the reason why we're here. But the Roe v. Wade situation and abortion has been in the news this week quite a bit. Also touching on strict parenting and what that may or may not do to children. And also quickly, or maybe not so quickly, touching on trans women winning female awards. Like I said, spicy stuff to say the least. And tonight, one of my stream team members from Twitch, Cool Cat Terry, is joining me. Terry, how are you?
I am fantastic. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, I just love it. I'm so glad that you decided to come on. Would you just kind of give everyone a little introduction about yourself and what you do, the kind of content that you create?
Sure, yes. So here, I have been a content creator since 2015. I started on YouTube, couldn't really get like my feel for YouTube, so I switched over to Twitch, and I mostly just do gaming streams over there as well as some art streams on the rare occasion. And then over the last couple of years, I've gotten into podcasting. So I've created some podcasts for other like communities, and then I've made my own, and then I also co-host on some others. So I'm kind of all over the place, all over the internet. You can definitely find me pretty much everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of my thing, yeah.
And you're a big advocate of Xbox, right?
I am, yes. I mean, I own pretty much all the systems. I don't have the PlayStation 5, but I own all the systems. So like I'm not like I'm not super biased, but the Xbox is my preference.
Well, as it should be. I feel like a lot of the I don't know if Xbox Game Pass is necessarily understated or if it's not talked about enough, but I got to tell you, as far as like if we're going to talk about console war stuff ever, like I think Xbox takes the cake in that regard as far as like library of content to consume and like good content at that. And that whole thing was announced and it came out, I jumped on that immediately because I'm someone who does jump around from game to game all the time, and I'm always wanting to try new things. And since demos became just non-existent over the past few years, when that came out, I sort of used it as this like, oh, I can like basically demo these games whenever I want. And now that xCloud is a thing, you can stream a lot of these games without even having to install them. So yeah, I'm a huge fan of Xbox, and I do need to update my Xbox system. I'm still running the One S, which is basically operates at a crawl compared to most of my other gaming.
Yeah, the Game Pass is definitely the best deal in gaming. It's revolutionary for sure, and I'm a big fan of it myself. And I can't like tell like honestly anybody who wants to badmouth it, it's probably because they don't have it and they just they don't understand like the bargain you're getting. Basically, if you're a hardcore gamer like myself, someone who is putting in to where you're getting at least one new game a month, if not more.
Mhm.
Basically, two games, $60 games is going to pay for that subscription for the year. So it's worth it. It's worth it to get that, especially since a lot of the first party games that I would normally buy are included. So I've saved myself hundreds of dollars.
Right.
So it's worth it. And then if you like the game and they take it off, because you have it on Game Pass, you get a discount on top of that. So you can still buy the game at a discount and not lose it once they want to take it off the library. So it's all around a good deal.
Yeah. The only thing I'll say is because I do consume I do have a PlayStation 4 I'm not lucky enough to have the PlayStation 5 yet. But the one thing that I think most people can agree on is that the exclusive titles that PlayStation has are pretty good. And now they're starting to come out as timed exclusives as they are, a lot of these games are moving over to PC, but that is definitely a selling point of the PlayStation. And they do have some really, really good, um, you know, um, what was the word? Like proprietary IPs for the most part that, God of War, was it Uncharted, The Last of Us, well, and Horizon Zero Dawn before it came to PC. But there's a lot of great games out there that you can't necessarily play, but they don't have the easy access to that content the way the Xbox does. So it's good to see someone like yourself like really dedicated to a product because I feel like brand loyalty is so hard to find nowadays, uh, especially in gaming. I don't know that people who really like advocate for a certain product, and you're one of the rare ones I feel like is really just sticks by their product. So
Yeah, and one of the things you gotta watch out for though when it comes to brand loyalty is there's loyalty, but there's also, just being overly fanboyish.
right,
And so you don't want to go to that extreme because the fanboys are the extreme where they can't see any negatives with the brand that they pursue. And every company brand has pros and cons. So to go to the extreme to say that your thing is perfect is just ridiculous.
right, right. Um, yeah, and that's like, as I get older and as I begin raising children, I realize the importance of sort of taking a fair stance on most things because I think for a long time I was just like, yeah, go Xbox. Like Xbox is everything. They're amazing. Like I'll do anything for them. And then it got to just be petty and weird because I was like, wait, I do really enjoy games that are on PlayStation, and PlayStation does have good things that are about it. Like their UI kind of sucks, but like there's good games on it. The quality that you get out of it, as far as like the image quality and streaming quality is really good. But yeah, and then Xbox, they did things pretty poorly for a few years when the Xbox One came out, So as I get older, I realize, you just got to look at things from sort of a neutral, objective stance the best you can. Um, but
In the end, whichever platform you choose, whether it's PC or console, as long as you're having fun, that should be the number one. It should never come down to, this brand is the best and the end all be all. It should be, does it have what you want and are you enjoying it? That's all that
right,
really matters.
right. Um, Let's see. So, if there's everyone in chat, thank you so much for jumping in and thank you for your comments so far. Sorry, I have not looked at them. I mean, I've been looking at them, but trying not to interrupt the intro for Terry and myself. Um, Actually, I didn't even really introduce myself. But if this is your first time watching the video, my name's the Shagsworth. You can call me Tom or Shags, whatever you want, as long as it's respectful. I stream 4 nights a week on Twitch, starting usually around 9 p.m. Mountain Standard Time till about midnight or 1 a.m., depending on how I'm feeling that day or how crazy my kids are being. And we do a lot of variety streaming. I try and play games front to back. Every time. I'm struggling with Dark Souls right now, but for the most part, we finish what we start. Yeah, Space Zombie, hello, Darkhopter, welcome. Darkhopter says I'm more for PC, and I'll tell you, I used to be a PC fanboy too, but like we were just talking about, I said everything has its place for sure, and
Hmm.
Xbox is doing a good job at sort of like co-opting the PC as well with their Game Pass PC, so you can get that stuff on and play it with a keyboard and mouse on PC. So they're as far as like as far as their marketing team goes, they've been killing it the past few years. Xbox has done a
Yeah.
hell of a job.
Xbox is doing fantastic. But yeah, and even for PC, like I'm a PC gamer as well, and they definitely have like the largest library. As much as people like to tote like PlayStation, I'm sorry, they can't even compare to the mass library of games that PC has to offer.
Right.
And and then when it comes to if you're someone that likes to play shooters, for example, you're going to have a better experience on PC.
Yeah.
Just because keyboard and mouse is superior to controller. It just is. And so yeah, it just depends on what you want to do with it. And like I said, as long as it has what you want and you're enjoying yourself, then pick the platform that best suits your needs. It just depends on what your needs are. Whether if you're on the go more, you maybe want to have a Switch or whatever, just whatever works for you.
Right. How? Yes. So, Space Zombie. Instead of tomfoolery, he does tomshaggery. This is very true. Sorry, I'm still getting over being a little sick. You probably hear it in my voice. Been dealing with a sinus infection over the past 3 or 4 days. It's not been fun. It's the first day that I haven't felt like my skull was going to explode every time I cough. And it's not even an exaggeration. Like every time I would cough, it would, like, I could just feel my bone just like come out. But anyway, we get right into the spicy stuff now. I made a small video that people may or may not have seen, from, it was originally a TikTok video I saw regarding, a doctor who had worked in performing abortions and was describing what the process was, when you can't like stick the tube in and suck the fetus out. Sorry, trigger warning. But they literally put like some forceps in and start pulling. I don't even like to say it. Use your imagination. It's pretty awful, what happens, and it was pretty eye opening. Largely because I am someone who my second was born during the second trimester, right at the end of the second trimester. Um, we He was born at 25 weeks 2 days, and it was really really hard. I mean, it was hard, but it was amazing to watch and understand the miracle of childbirth at that point. And every time I see people advocating for late term abortions or even like second trimester abortions, I get really upset because people don't realize and are not aware of how much of a person that really is. And Terry, I'm not sure what your stance is on abortion. Mine, just for context, is safe, legal, and rare. And like, I do want people to have the ability to choose if they need one. I As I said in my video, I'm more of the opinion that it should be done, like, if there is an incident, it should be done immediately, like the morning after, or at least before 6 weeks. After that, it's just too muddied as what the like, this is a person. This is an actual person that you are infringing on this person's rights. So the discussion surrounding Roe v. Wade, like, I think it should be left up to the states to decide what they want to do. Again, and this goes back to my own belief that you should be living in a place that you feel you can raise a family in the long term. So if you're conservative, you probably shouldn't get an apartment in downtown LA, or in San Francisco at this point. You should probably be living somewhere that's a little bit more conservative. And so, and the same thing here. And I don't think it should be illegal to get one if you need, but it should be. I don't know. It's such a hard thing to discuss. It worries me that people are so willy nilly about this particular thing when it's a major procedure, not only for the mother, but obviously for the unborn child. So I kind of want to get your perspective on it, Terry.
Okay, so for me, let's see here. I feel, how I want to put this into words. All right, so for the most part, I'm pro-life,
Yeah.
but I do believe that if there's any kind of extenuating circumstances that need to intervene, whether it's like the baby can't survive outside the womb, or it's going to jeopardize that the baby and the mother are both at risk, or something like that, then by all means, let the doctors, do what needs to be done. But late term, that I do not believe in that. That should not happen. There's for me, I don't personally see how if you don't think you want a child, why would it take you that long to come to that conclusion?
Right.
Because especially since you can literally go and get, if you feel that I can't think of the words now. Your pregnancy control stuff failed.
Right.
I mean, you can easily get the morning after pill. I
Right.
mean, you don't even have to get you don't have to see a doctor. You can just go to like the store and pick it right up.
Right.
You have that option. And it's just, I don't know. I don't like the idea, especially since with like late term. I agree. People do not know what's really happening. They don't understand. Graphic here. For those that don't want to hear it, they're literally dismembering that child while it's alive, and it's grotesque. It's barbaric. It shouldn't be happening. The whole conversation that people like to argue is the whole rape thing.
Right.
And I'm like, the amount of people that would fall in line with is such a small percentage to the amount of people who are just going to get it because of unprotected sex.
Right.
And I would say the best way to kind of balance it out would be to make increased charges for false rape accusations. So if someone falsifies a rape accusation, make it stricter, so that way, this way, they'll be less likely to just claim rape to get the abortion.
Yeah.
Make it higher, and see if that actually does anything to prevent them from people from doing that, and see if it actually fixes the problem. If it doesn't fix the problem and people are still doing it, then we'd have to come back and try to find a way to correct the issue. But at least try that, increase that, because otherwise, what's stopping someone from just saying I was raped just so they can get one legally?
Right. And that's, and that is the sticky situation. But I think, and this goes back to the need to, it's a culture war, right? Our culture is being like destroyed from the inside out. And this is part of it, when people make the argument that abortions are like a healthcare issue, it's like, no, it's like, well, we could talk about safe sex. We could talk about perhaps abstinence. We could talk about, and I said this, and, not using your body as a toilet, and just respecting yourself, because, if we can do those things, we might prevent a couple unwanted ones. And again, the morning after pill exists. You can get it anywhere. You can get it like Costco, like Walmart. You can get it at places over the counter, no questions asked. If there's really an emergency, God forbid, there's an instance of rape or incest or those things that people like to bring up, please use those options right then if you think that there's an issue. Because again, even the excuse of, oh, well, this horrific thing happened to me, now 6 months down the line, I'm thinking, no, it's too, like, that is a real living person at that point. You are infringing on another person's rights at that point. Like, that child is kicking you. It has a face, it smiles, it sneezes, it hiccups. Like, these things are happening like a normal person. And again, it's a culture thing to me, where it's like, why are we not talking about how to just respect your body? And then you could probably avoid most of these things. I was young once. I was irresponsible once, and I did shit that I probably shouldn't have done. Luckily, I came out on the other side nearly unscathed, and everyone, in my wake, but that's not the case for everyone. And now, people are using this as, I forget what the word was that someone used, but like when people say abortion's healthcare, I'm just like, no, it's not. Like that is the biggest misrepresentation of this procedure ever. And it's perpetuating a lie that's just creating a huge divide in people. I don't know.
And there's also, when it comes to the whole health issue argument, medicine has come a long way. Doctors can usually tell pretty early in what kind of situations you might have to face if there's like going to be a difficulty with the pregnancy or something wrong with the fetus or something like that. They usually can tell you that pretty early on for you to have. I don't understand why people think that they have to wait until late term to come to that conclusion. Doctors usually know, unless some unforeseen thing happens that they didn't expect, which is rare.
Mm-hmm.
So like if so like they can usually tell if a child's going to have some sort of severe medical condition
Right.
early in.
Yep. Yeah, it's remarkable how like what, and I was just watching a thing upstairs about this guy who revolutionized um like treatment for, well, the first thing he did was basically when like twins, there was this thing that was happening with twins, I guess, and this that I am paraphrasing, and I watched a little bit of it, but this is essentially the gist of what he did. Is like there's a lot of there can be complications with twins in the womb, and this procedure he developed, um, sort of against his, like medical professionals at the time, um, like it was like a laser procedure where he was able to like cut, like basically not cut, but like solder blood vessels shut, so they were no longer sharing like blood flow if like one was getting too much, one was getting too little. It was this totally revolutionary thing. um and he specialized in twins, triplets, multiples. um and I totally forgot where I was going with this, so there's my brain for me. Oh my god. um God, I don't even remember where I started there. Anyways, it was basically, I mean, there's just, I don't know. I don't know if I'll regain my thought process. Sorry, everyone, for that.
It happens. It's all good.
it just comes down to people's like true lack of awareness of what is happening during these times, and it's never. And the majority of the arguments that I see are, to me, they're not parents. They're not people who have ever reared children, who have ever had children, or had to like care for children longer than a um couple nights a month babysitting or something. And it's really like these are the people who are standing out there picketing and yelling at Congress people and calling them inhumane. And I think, and don't get me wrong, there's conservatives out there who take it way too far, like um I don't know exactly when. I mean, I believe that life does begin at conception. That doesn't mean that there's not options, right? Like safe, legal, and rare. I want people to be able to do it if they need it. I want it to be as rare as possible, and I want people to be safe doing it. I don't want things to go back to a fucking coat hanger or anything awful like that. I want it to be available if needed. But right now, um, I believe, I don't know how accurate the number is, but Darkopter here in chat said 65 million abortions doesn't justify using abortion clinics as a birth control alternative. And I agree. Like it should not be, abortion should not be a birth control option. It's, I think both parties, whether male or female, need to take whatever precautions they need to prevent pregnancy. Males using condoms, if females want to use birth control, hormones, or whatever, NuvaRing, whatever the hell you guys are using these days, that's fine. But both parties are responsible for this. It takes two to tango, right?
Yes.
But yeah, it's just what a crapshoot. These are the times that people really need to like step back and like learn how to have a conversation. It seems like the only thing that people want to do right now is say the most insane shit to get as many clicks as possible in order to get their message out. And that's not how we're going to solve problems.
It's also it's easy for people to make a claim or think that they know the answer when they're not in the situation.
Right.
It's just like, when people, give you, like if you're supposed to like have like this pretend question where they'll be like, okay, what would you do in this extreme situation, that, life or death situation? people like to think they would know what they would do in a life or death situation, but until
Right.
you're actually in that situation, you don't know how you're gonna react.
Right.
So it's easy to say, oh, well, this is what you should do, if you have an unexpected pregnancy. It's easy when you're not the one, facing it in the moment.
Yeah. Yeah. And and that goes for, I mean, these, fair weather activists, right? I guess you could probably call them, is like, especially when, there's a shooting with the police. Like, why was he shooting? The guy was just running at him with a knife. Like, okay, let's put you in that situation. Someone's running at you with a knife. What are you going to do? Like, are you going to stand toe to toe with that person? And you heard this with the Rittenhouse trial when they're trying to say that Kyle should have basically taken the beating from whoever. It's like, I don't think you've ever been in a fight because
Yeah.
you don't just willfully take someone's punches or skateboards to the head or kicks in the face. You defend yourself. And, I don't want to make a big deal of the Rittenhouse thing. I don't think he necessarily should have been there. I think him being there and the way he acted the way he should have and within the law. That's basically what I'll say about that. But
People, sorry, people forget that hands are lethal weapons.
oh, for sure.
So yeah, if they have a knife, yes, that's clearly a lethal weapon. A guy having a skateboard, that's a lethal weapon. I mean, pretty much any inanimate object, if used in a way, could be potentially a lethal weapon depending on the object. So I just find it ridiculous that people think that, oh, because their weapon wasn't as severe as your weapon, that they get a pass. No, a weapon's a weapon.
Right. Yeah. Plenty of people kill people with their fists, or other blunt, small objects. You don't need a big, scary assault rifle to pose a threat to anyone. Yeah, it's, these are the times that, it's the stuff like this that we need to find a way to talk about it in a civil way on a higher level, right? Like, this is a small podcast, small YouTube channel. We could pretty much say what we need to, but when it comes to like the policymakers, like we got to stop being so inflammatory. Like, it's okay to say what you think, your own personal views are on something, but you got to have your finger on the pulse of most of the nation. I think a lot of the nation's kind of like where we are. It's like we want it to be legal, we want it to be around, safe, legal, and rare. We don't want to advocate for it as a healthcare option or a birth control method, but if you absolutely positively needed it, well, it should be around. But yeah, the way it's being presented now is like, no, it's healthcare, like we need it, and these poor women are taking like abortion pills like on the steps of this monument there, like on that tweet that I saw. I was like, what are you guys doing? Like, those it's like you're putting harmful chemicals in your body right now. Like, holy moly. I mean, and I don't know exactly how those work, but I know they're not good for your body if you're not if you're if you're not actually pregnant. So, and even if you are, like, so I don't know.
Even I don't know what they do if you're not. I'm sure it's still bad stuff. I'm not a doctor, so I can't go into any of that. It would just be speculation.
Right.
But when it comes to like an abortion, even if you have like a miscarriage, it's just having a natural abortion, with a miscarriage, it's super dangerous to the mother, because if they don't get that taken out, it can cause all kinds of health problems and even kill the mother. So I mean, just taking some pills, and doing it yourself, and you're not having a doctor involved, it's super dangerous.
Right. Right. Oh man. Well, this kind of leads into the next topic that I want to talk about, and then we'll take the pre-birth, and we'll go down the road a little bit to birth and development afterwards. And Terry, do you have any kids? I forgot.
I do not.
Do not. Okay. But still, this is, I don't believe that anyone, I don't believe people should be excluded from a conversation just because you're not necessarily in that situation. I still think people can come to rational decisions and have rational discussions even if they like, even if you're not a parent, and I, because we're trying this as a maiden voyage with StreamYard, and by the way, StreamYard, you're amazing. Being able to highlight people's comments and be able to do all this stuff is really, really cool. But there's a video I wanted to show that I did post in our Discord, Terry. I don't know if you watched it, but we'll watch it again and allow other people to see it. But it was a quick clip. The lady's name is Catherine Burbalsing. At Miss Snuffy is her Twitter handle, but she's talking about the importance of being strict with your children, and the panel of people that she's explaining it to are essentially just laughing and snickering in her face and being pretty disrespectful. She does not make it apparent that she's like mad at all. She's amazingly professional throughout the whole thing, but the panel that she's talking to is less than impressed with her idea, and it, to me, it looks like they're using every fiber in their body to not like scream white supremacy and in all that crap. But the guy at the end, he finally, I'll let you guys see it. I'll bring it up here on the screen share. Let's here we go. So this is the video. Hopefully you guys can hear it. I assume you will be able to. I'll bring the video up a little bit. Here we go. Which, that's pretty fucking funny. I almost laughed my ass off when I first heard that, because it's a panel of, for those who can't see the video, it's 4 people of color, and she is a person of color as well. Looks like she's of like Indian descent. The others are 4 African Americans, and she happens to use whips and chains in to describe how she treats people. So I almost lost it the first time I saw it, but anyway.
I don't know if they can hear it, because for me, I don't hear it.
Oh, you cannot hear it?
No, like it's very faint on my end, so I don't know if the viewers can hear it.
Let's see if I can turn it up a little bit. So I'm guessing, okay, no audio. Okay, I'm sorry guys. We'll just go back to things. So basically what she is saying is there needs to be a consistent like rule set for kids growing up. It's important that kids have a solid rule base to sort of define their world. And again, everyone's sort of sitting around being like, like, in the just sort of a blank look on their face. It's insane to me that anyone would listen to what this woman is saying and think that she's being unruly or in any way out of line. Because again, and I've said this before on my channel and in clips, like kids are very, very impressionable, and they can be convinced of nearly everything. And defining like what the rules might be or what they should be, give them their play area, right? You basically put up the fence for them to play and do as they will. And the guy towards the end, he basically says like, "Oh, so you're describing prison." And again, she's very, very professional and is like, no. What I'm saying is that, well, he tries to make it like that she's defining like prison, like, "Oh, you mean like you're running a prison?" She's like, no. And he also says that like, wouldn't that stifle their creativity because they can't explore outwards? And she's like, no, like you establish the rules and you be consistent with the rules both at home and at school, and then they can move as they need. They can push the boundaries. Everyone, kids will, but they'll do it in a safer manner. They'll know when it is they're going to get in trouble, when it is that they're going to, need to back off a little bit. And I 100% agree with this lady. She is spot on. I have a 4-year-old and almost 3-year-old, and the more they understand the rules, the more they know when they are out of line, the better overall that they behave. Like, and the kids need to be reminded. They need to be told. Like I tell my son almost every day, don't forget to make as many green choices as you can today. Don't make red choices. Like just things that they understand. And you define what those red choices are, what the green choices are. And 3 or 4 days in a row this week, his teacher, wrote notes in the little app. He did great. He listened to all the directions, blah, 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 blah. Because we do that. They do that at school, and then we do that at home. Right. So I don't know. Again, I know you don't have any kids, but what are your thoughts on what she's saying about, being strict and being consistent with kids and all that? What's your take on that, Terry?
Okay. So I don't have my own kids, but I have a lot of nieces and nephews that I've had, taken care of, and I had to help raise my younger siblings because there's over a 10-year gap between myself and my youngest sibling. Mm-hmm. So I helped with the upbringing of that. So I am a strong believer that children need structure.
Yeah.
Just like adults. We perform better when there's structure. Mm-hmm. So for her to be advocating for that, I agree with her. And the others there were, they were being belligerent. Like they really wanted to like nitpick what she was saying and twist it to make it sound like structure. Like when he made the comment of prison, she's talking about, having like rules and structure for your kids, and he wanted to take it to the extreme and say, oh, like prison, like that's nothing what she's talking about. Right. I mean, just having like a routine with your kids, a structure for, okay, when you come home, you got to do X, Y, Z before you can do fun stuff. That's still structure. That's not prison. That's, you have to take care of your responsibilities with homework and stuff, chores, right, whatever, and then you can go and, play games or whatever you want to do. Mm-hmm. It's literally, it could be as simple as that. And, right, it doesn't have to be, this prison extreme that he wanted to go with. He was just being over the top. But, so no, I agree with her on that. And for when it comes to like discipline, I also agree that you have to be consistent. You can't have a good parent and like the bad parent, right, because it ruins everything. Because then the child's gonna know, okay, I'm gonna go to the good parent to get away with stuff. So you have to be consistent, and then if the parents disagree, they need to talk about that away from the child. Don't do that in front of the child. You know what I mean?
Kids are smart.
So yeah, like they'll pick up on everything. And
this is my thing too, is like, don't mistake what I'm saying. Kids are smart because they're always learning. They're a sponge. They're smart for their given age, right? Like kids are stupid, but like they learn really quickly. And here's the thing, when it comes to rules, it's important again to be consistent with your kids. If there's going to be a shift in the rules, you also need to allow time for them to know it. So if there's a new rule, if they discover something in the house all of a sudden and they start messing with whatever it may be, like they start getting into the pantry, you need to set the rule now, because they can open doors. This door is off limits. If this is what you want, then you need to ask me first. You have to ask mom first, and then we will get something for you. Or you know what I mean? If they know the rule, they will follow it. They need to be reminded of it, just like we as adults need to be reminded of rules, because we can't possibly know everything. We need to be reminded from time to time. If the rule changes at some point, you can't just punish a kid because a rule changed, or you can't change it up all the time. That's why, like you said, it's important for mom and dad to be on the same page constantly. If they're not, then it's very confusing for the kids. That's when you start getting I'm going to ask mommy. No. This is how it is. She's going to tell you the same thing, but if they know that they can get another answer out of the other parent, the good cop or the bad cop, they will do it. It's just what we do. It's not even, you don't even teach a kid that. They want something, they will find a way to get it because they're smart. They're smart in that moment. And but yeah, that I mean, the consistency is so key in so many ways. And kids are great because they can be conditioned to act a certain way based on what you tell them and the rules you set for them. It becomes confusing when you change them up, or when, mom and dad are not on the same page, or even, again, if you're going against what's going on at school, it's good to try and bring in stuff that's at school, because they know that if they do something at school, at home you'll have the same sort of like discipline method or whatever. um like that's and even just having the right in knowing the consistency of the day. It sucks being away from my kids all day long, but they're safe and they're happy because they know when I drop them off that, several hours later I will be back to pick them up. It's really remarkable how like malleable kids are at a young age. As we get older, you know we get stuck in our ways, we get, our own individuality. But I was really surprised to see this clip as like as even controversial with even this group of people. Like I just thought this was what everyone did as parents.
Yeah, and then there was the other comment that they made, the gentleman made towards her about how if you raise your kids with structure, it's going to stifle their creativity. And I'm like, that's the biggest stigma you can put on there about how you have to be like this free spirit to be creative, because some of the most artistic people that I grew up with had, very religious, structured um, homes that they grew up in. So it's the biggest BS statement to make, that you have to be like very loose with your kids for them to be creative. It's total BS.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely not true. And there's a time and a place to be loosey goosey with the kids. It's like, you know, immediate threats to their well-being. Like you need to put a stop to it. Someone in the chat said, you find out how to unlock the windows, you need to, lock the windows, and you need to tell the kids that it's not okay to go out the windows. Like there's certain things that, like something like that, like, oh, well, you're keeping the kid from going outside and seeing. No, I'm keeping them from, getting killed or falling, 4 stories to their death. Now they know that they have to stay away from there, and they can explore all they want inside the house. Like, I tell my son all the time. He's like, I want to play, Super Mario. I'm like, why don't you go pretend that you're going to outer space in a rocket ship? And he like looks at me for a second. He's like, oh, okay. Like, and then he goes in his room, or he, gets a box out of the closet or something, and, starts pretending. Like kids are easily redirected, and they get, they fixate on weird things. But if you don't tell them, or, guide them into what they could be doing, this is just practice for the big game. As kids, you need to know the boundaries. You need to know the rules of the game in order to engage in it properly and be the best at it. Bottom line, done.
I agree. And stay away from that instant gratification. If they want something, that doesn't mean you just give it to them, because then the moment you don't give it to them, then you're going to have problems.
Right. Yeah. It's hard. That is one of the, if you do ever decide to have a family, it's one of the hardest things to, and no one's perfect at it. And this is it. Like you will always set a standard for like how you are going to raise kids. And if you hit that 60% of the time, you're doing great. Some days your psyche is broken and your kids push you to the very limits of your sanity. And sometimes you do just like, you break down, you're like, fine, you can have that thing. I can't go any farther, but if for the most part you are, 51% of the time you are sticking to your guns, and you are, doing things as you say, and you're upholding the rules, your kids will be happy, they'll be fine, and they will understand. You have to do everything in your power to teach kids to work for things. It's not just you beg for things or cry and kick and scream and then you get what you want. That's not how you build you know, it's one of the biggest problems with social media in kids is it's instantly gratifying, notifications, bing, dopamine, addictive. It might as well. It's worse than cigarettes. It's worse than heroin. Kids have, there's no age restrictions on this stuff, so kids they go headlong into it, and before you know it, they're dependent on it. And as the studies show now, young girls are more depressed than ever because they're trying to keep up with all their friends, and it's a 24-hour popularity contest. When you and I were kids, or at least myself, like the popularity contest extended to the school day. You didn't know what people were doing after school. It was, I mean, at least I didn't. I graduated high school in 2003. And even when I graduated in 2003, there was nothing, like, social media was not a thing yet. I don't think Facebook
It
came
was. No,
until,
we had MySpace back then, but it was,
right. It was pretty rudimentary,
yeah. It was like we were just getting into that because, yeah, I graduated in '05, so
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. So
we were
you're my brother's
definitely
age.
like so we were just getting into social media with MySpace at the time.
Right.
And yeah, and people were already getting pretty into that, and then Facebook just made it way worse.
Really, the biggest social media thing that we had, and it wasn't even social media, was AOL Instant Messenger.
Hmm.
That was the thing that I think really started people on this. Like, I think that was the very beginning of those dopamine hits, because I know that my away messages were like subtweets to some people. You know what I mean? Like, they were, you put up song lyrics, or you'd put up some vague, like, attack on someone, and, like, you're like, oh, I hope this motherfucker sees this, like, or I hope this girl sees my corny, song lyrics, and calls me, like, those were, I think, the very beginning of it. Those were the beginnings of our cries for help. And but yeah, it wasn't until at least college for me when, so I was in college 2003, 2004 was my first year, and Facebook had just started taking off at that point, and it was so much different than it is now. Like, it's insanely different. Um, but was it Engelwolf said here, and I do want to reiterate this: everything in life is a teaching moment. It's up to the parents to use them. Yes, and like I said, if you were able to get about 60% of those in as your teaching moments, you'll be in a really good place, like, for sure. It's really hard to get them all, and most of us, after a 8, 9, 10 hour day at work, we just a lot of times don't have the energy, and that's on top of you being sick or healthy, or the kids being sick or healthy, paying your bills, trouble at work, all that stuff. It's really, it can be a pain, but the again, if you can't commit to those times, like, you probably shouldn't be a parent. Sorry to say. Like, you sort of commit yourself to that when you lay with your partner, as it were. uh, I don't know. Terry, are you at least you're a pet mom, are you not?
Yes, I am. Yes.
Okay. One thing that gets me about that, I see posts all the time, like, oh, my son, my little daughter, like, they're holding, like, a cat or a dog. I'm like, that is not the same.
Yeah, no, it's not the same. I mean, people can definitely love their pets, around the same level as you can, like, people, but
Mhm.
no, that comes more into like a delusion where people start to, see them as children because they're not children.
No, yeah, yeah,
And it's actually you actually end up, usually those individuals usually have very bad behaving pets because they treat them like human children. The pets, they're emotionally, that messes with them. They're not able to, behave the way they normally would, and then they end up acting out more. So you'll get dogs that get a little bit more snippy and overly protective and things like that. So it's actually, it's bad to do that.
yeah, yeah. It's, oh man, it's I laugh. I mean, trust, my pets are great. They're awesome. But they are certainly not nearly as much a trouble as my actual children, especially because my pets don't talk back to me. My 4-year-old and my almost 3-year-old now talk back to me on the regular. Like, can you come to this? No, no. Like, what? Excuse me? Like, at least my dog doesn't do that. At least she'll just like walk away and like go crap in the yard where she's not supposed to. Like, okay, I guess I deserve that. Whatever. But, oh, anyways, um, let's see. I haven't been paying much close attention to the chat. Let me see what we got here. MSN chat was the Twitter of the 90s, really. MSN, I don't even remember MSN chat.
I used MSN. I didn't have AOL, but I used MSN. And then the other thing that came into play was the chat rooms and groups on Yahoo.
Right.
And that was really big. Like, you'd go and you'd get in like these little community groups and chat with people, or you would play like those little Yahoo games like pool and stuff, and you would like chat with people, and that was like the big thing.
See, I missed those. I was big onto because I mean, first it was you get the AOL online CDs and all like in the mail and shit. And, I mean, they were everywhere.
They were.
So that was first. So I just immediately got an AOL Instant Messenger in like the random chat rooms, right? Like, ASL ? That was all like all of those things. You just make up that you're some, 34-year-old female from Philadelphia and just chat and like, oh my God, me too. Oh, what? Like, but I mean, that was the beginning of the trolling career, and also just and I didn't deviate from AOL after that. I remember trying MSN chat, and I always thought like this is like the poor man's AOL. Like that was like a legit thought. I was like, I just didn't like how it looked. But I'm sure I had like an account that I used, but most of my friends were on AOL. Yes, it was the birth of catfishing for sure. Engel, absolutely. Let me see. Pardon me. But yeah, I remember all the Yahoo games. That was definitely something that I played. So the third topic that I wanted to move into was I don't have to play anything. I'll share the screen for this because this is something that, again, I don't love getting into this particular subject matter, but I can't help but need to comment on this because it's so the title of the article is Male Wins Female Leadership Position in New York Democratic Council. And again, the erasure of women in history, like biological women in these positions, is troubling because I feel like so much work has been done to, for women in general to be noticed in certain things, and now something like this happens, and we have to accept the fact that a man is a woman, and that man can accept an award designated to a female. And again, Terry, I don't know your feelings on this necessarily, but if I were in your position, or if I were in my wife's position, I would be pissed. Again, like it's not to say that some men are not equal to women. I heard something today that really put it beautifully. Men and women are equal in value, not in roles. Is that how they put it? But it was perfectly put, because men and women are amazing creatures. They are dependent on one another, but they complement one another beautifully, and they both are very, very important in like the grand scheme of things. And where's the next picture? The next picture I think was put here because, well, if it's not completely obvious what is poking out there, you just need to look a little closer. It's just funny. I think at this point, and but I would like to hear from you, Terry, like what your take is on something like this as a woman, um, in men accepting awards that were meant for women.
Yeah, I mean, oh man, this is where things get to be, with the way things are now. It gets to be very slippery, and yeah, I'm against it. Now, it runs into that whole transgender kind of topic stuff, and
Right.
I'm for, if someone wants to, is, a transsexual or a transgender, whatever. I'm okay with it as long as they go, full tilt on it.
Hmm.
Don't just claim you're something and then you don't do anything to actually
So by full
back it up.
tilt, well, by full tilt, what do you mean?
Like they fully cross over. So like man to woman, woman to man. They fully, go through like the surgeries and everything. They go full tilt.
Right. Okay.
Don't just be like me. Don't be like me. Like well, I don't do this, but like for example, I don't believe that I should be able to say, well, I'm a man and do nothing towards that, and just be able to do, and this shouldn't happen. Um,
That's
right,
fair.
yeah, right now we're at that point where you can just say you're the one thing and no one's allowed to question it. And then, it's like, no, if you sincerely believe you are these, then why aren't you actively pursuing it?
Right.
So that's my own thing. So for if they're not fully, going, the full mile to get there, then they don't qualify in my eyes. They don't qualify. And
Right.
that's
Because
pretty much this whole thing.
this
Because
right
he
here.
hasn't. That's definitely a male. He can claim that he's female. He's in my eyes he's not. He looks like a man. He's just wearing female clothing. That doesn't count. I mean, women today wear men clothing all the time, and we still identify as women. We
Right.
wear jeans. We wear the same stuff. So no, just because you want to wear different, gender specific clothing is not a free pass.
Right. Yeah. Like I'm all for this guy's right to feel good in whatever clothes that he wants, but to accept an award for a gender that he is not is again, and again, it's just it's like it's like a participation trophy at this point. It's like, wait a minute. So you just happen to feel like a woman on this day, and or in general, and now you get this award. No, 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 no. Like there's women who've worked, harder than you longer as a woman, and they deserve it. Like let me see if you like this poor woman in the background here is just sitting there like, oh man, that could have been mine. like like just and again, he should feel good in whatever clothes that he wants, and he should be able to do whatever he wants. I'm not here to infringe on any of his rights, but I find it insulting to women who have just been women forever and now cannot get the award because this guy just is feeling fine today.
I
And
agree. I agree. Just like I said, I could put on, a polo and some jeans, and that doesn't mean I qualify for an award that only men can get. So
yeah,
it goes both ways.
yeah, it's like it devalues what it means to be like a woman, like I'm sorry, but in my humble, opinion, a woman is someone who, and I get shit for this all the time. 'Cause I'm like, woman is someone who can, could bear children or could possibly bear children. I know some, people are like, well, because if you can't have children, does that make not a woman? Like, no, I'm saying the biology within you, like the organs you have within you, were designed to create life. Some do not work. I understand that, but like there, there's just clear differences between this gentleman and an actual woman. Like I think I'm not even I wouldn't even consider myself a feminist, but like women I think should be celebrated. I mean, there's when I'm just watching my wife deal with two really hard pregnancies, and like the amount of pain she went through, the amount of stress she had to go through with like breastfeeding, not being able to breastfeed, all this stuff. It is, I don't know one man that could have put up with that. Not one, not one. And I don't, we just don't, that's not a role that we should be taking away, or it's not something that we should be trying to say like, oh, well, you know, not, in the changing of language to try and like include like trans women into the woman conversations. Like, some things you just can't be a part of. Sorry. It's okay if you want to say that you feel as if you should be a woman, but you are not a woman. Does that make sense?
I get you. I get you.
Right. And I know this is a hard thing to talk about, and I know a lot of people don't like to talk about it, but it's one of those things that I haven't really commented on over, my time with content creation. And it's just one of those things when I saw the pictures, and I just thought, I mean, you're clearly not a woman. I mean, your mini skirt is bulging to define you as a male. But I don't know. It's
We also have to be careful with the direction we're going in. We starting to feel like people are trying to replace, because um biological male and female, we are both important. We both need to exist for life to continue for our species. So it feels like we're getting to the extreme where some people feel like we need to replace one. Like, you have your extreme feminists who just hate men and think that, if women can find ways to, reproduce without men, it's like, no, that's not the way it should be. No, we need each other. There's different things that complement everything, like you said. Like
mhm,
men handle situations in one way. You have different ways, the way you think about, problems to get solutions as women do, and they complement each other.
right.
There isn't one way to do things. If we can't have that complement, we can't learn different things. We can't be innovative, because then we're all going to kind of have like that one track mind on how to handle stuff, and
Right.
and it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, and it's weird to me. And this again is a part of the culture war thing where when I hear women talking about, or, I hear these like small activist groups talk about having families without men. Like, we don't need men to have families. I'm like, listen, like, why are we trying to dismantle the nuclear family this way? And I'm not saying that two women can't have, an awesome, you know, be awesome parents. They totally can. But to some extent, the roles are still defined. Like, you're not going to have two. Well, I would argue that most times that happens, you're still going to have one sort of dominant figure with sort of the traditional masculine personality, and then you're going to have one that takes on a more feminine personality. And I don't think it's out of line to say that. Not, and again, it's not to say that will always happen, because you have hetero couples where they're both more of like a passive, very easygoing, and you don't necessarily have like an alpha male like father. It's so, like, but still you still need this dynamic. Families have been very successful in very I guess that's the right way to put it, like for hundreds and thousands of years on this particular thing, and all of a sudden it's not a good thing anymore. I don't follow. I don't get it. So I don't know. I hope people figure it out. I hope people realize the importance of having, the separation of this is a male role, this is a female role, and or mom role, dad role, or whatever, however you want to put it, and understand that it is a really, really important part of, raising children. And just, I don't know, man. I think it's even bigger than raising children. It's a way to spread culture. It's a really good way to to pass on good values to people, even if you don't necessarily have children, but just pass on values. Um, there's a couple of comments I wanted to read real quick. They're this is from Space Zombie. They're trying to deconstruct the nuclear family for two reasons, in my opinion. The first is that a strong nuclear family has a higher chance of producing a functioning human being, and patriarchy. Yeah, I mean, those are the patriarchy is something that, again, we're told that being male is toxic and it's not good, um and I think in a way the deconstruction of the nuclear family kind of relates back to, by producing a functioning human being and passing on good culture, they can't control things the way that they want to. And I don't really like saying stuff like that a lot of times because it makes me sort of like a almost an Alex Jonesian personality, and that's not what I'm going for. But I do think that there's this small, loud contingent of people right now that wants to control language, wants to erase the meaning of a lot of words, and if they're able to to sort of decimate what that family is, it stops people from like talking with one another. Everything does become subjective. There's less questions asked at dinner because mom is held up at work all night long and you're with the babysitter, and she just lets you watch YouTube videos all night. Like all these things are really, really important. The nuclear family with mom, dad, and kids is important because it establishes dinner times, regular activities, like we've been talking about all night. It establishes this sort of excuse me, this what was the word we were using tonight? This rule set, this sort of
Structure.
what's that?
Structure.
Structure. There we go. Oh my gosh. Thank you, Terry. It establishes a structure that allows you to talk about things. You hear something on the news. Children ask, "What is this, Daddy? What is this, Mommy?" And you're able to have that dialogue. When mom is kept at work all night long, when dad is kept at work all night long and all day, and you don't get to see them, you don't get to have these conversations, it's much harder to spread the things that it's much harder to teach your kids. Your kids then become taught by YouTube personalities. Maybe I'm stepping on my own uh, foot there, but you're taught by people that are not your parents, and we, as parents are, we need to. That's how we spread good culture. That's how we teach kids to be self-sufficient. And if you're allowing someone else to do that, you're gonna wake up one day and your kids are gonna be saying something stupid and be like, wait, where was I? Why didn't I get ahead of that? So pardon me.
Yeah, I feel like when it comes to like the whole patriarchy thing, I feel like the people who kind of follow that kind of narrative, I feel like they have this misconception that all males are like these alpha males, and it's like that's not true. There's plenty of men out there that
Mhm.
are like beta males. They're more compassionate and submissive. Not you don't all have like this grueling caveman mentality where you have to be king of the mountaintop.
Right.
So it's kind of ridiculous. And there's plenty of women out there that have that mentality where they think they have to be top boss. So it's just it's like an old way of thinking to think that the men have to be like the alphas and the women have to be subordinate. It goes both ways on both sides.
Right. No, I agree. And I think an even more troubling part of all this is that, you know, like you said, there are women who are sort of the alpha personality and that want to, you know, like be the provider and all that. And then, again, the dad stays home and does the stay-at-home dad thing. And that's totally fine. Usually one of the two has that personality. My issue comes when they want to erase what it means to be a mother. Like, you shouldn't be having kids. You should be a professional, and you should forget about raising the family. It's like, but why are we demonizing like what it means to be a mother? Like, again, it's a and the people who are making this claim like don't have kids and like probably don't plan on having kids. It's like you don't understand like how rewarding. It's difficult. Again, a woman who's able to stay home and raise her kids like while her whether it's doing homeschooling or, taking care of the house and cleaning and the laundry and all that stuff. If a woman's able to do all that and remain sane, she is much stronger than her man. I'm sorry. Like, but again, it's like they become like the emotional like strength, like the dad might have that physical strength and be able to go out and like work on a construction site all day or work around, being an electrical and engineer all day long. It's a different kind of strength, whereas, and this is another thing I heard today. It's not my own words, it's someone else's. Like the males, like in this particular way, are the gas and the brake in the car, and the females or the moms are the like they're like the emergency light, check engine light, and the finer systems. Like they don't like necessarily make the car go, but they allow you to see when something is wrong or something needs to be fixed. Does that make sense?
Okay, I think what you're trying to explain is like a moral compass.
Yeah. Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah. Like that is the woman's role, or at least one of the person's role. It's like, again, it kind of is just feeding back to the men and women in a relationship, or just in general, they're a team. They're a complement to one another. Like one by itself is not the perfect machine, but together, they certainly can be. So I'm worried that we're going to get to a point where people really are just like, being a mom is not a good thing. I mean, it's already happening, but I feel like it'll go even farther, and that's going to accelerate the cultural decline in our society.
Yeah, the new age, I'm going to say new age because the original feminists, I believed in what the original feminists were pushing for, women's rights and all that good stuff, right to vote, like power to those women. The new age feminists today, I can't stand.
Oh yeah.
And they have this whole thing when it comes to like motherhood. They want to see it as like this sexist thing, like, oh, the woman's role is to be the caregiver at home, your place is in the kitchen, raise the kids, kind of thing. And they want to brand it as this really bad stigma, and that women need to be independent and powerful and you know become a CEO of a company. And it's like, yeah, I mean, if a woman wants to do that, let them do that, but that doesn't mean all women need to follow that model either. I mean, there's plenty of successful women out there who have children and then go back to work, and then there's plenty of successful women who decide, what, I'm going to give up my career and just be a stay-at-home mom. There isn't one path for all women. So for them to, kind of push this narrative that being a stay-at-home mom is to be shunned upon is ridiculous, because what you might not work for you doesn't mean it doesn't work for somebody else, and they're perfectly happy with doing it. There's plenty of stay-at-home moms that love it.
Yeah.
And for you to be and say like that's wrong, I mean, you're slapping in all their faces, because being a stay-at-home mom, I've seen plenty of them. Being a stay-at-home mom is not easy. It's they're constantly on the go. It's very stressful, and they have to deal with a lot of things. And for people to kind of like pass it off as like, oh no, that's so 1950s, shame on you for doing that. It's wrong for people to think that way.
Right. And there's a comment here from Space Zombie again. It's like, well, they're basically saying in media now they're portraying parenthood as giving up on your dreams, which is too bad, because it's, if anything, I think it's like the ultimate dream for people is like, again, like, okay, it's like your test as a human. Like, I did it and I'm good. Like, now can I replicate those results and even do better and like almost iterate on the current design of you? And even Darkopter here saying, they're saying women can't be two things at once. And even that, in its own way is sort of this subtle like backhand to women. It's like, well, you couldn't possibly have a career and be a mother. You have to choose one. You can't do them both. And you should choose the career because you're an empowered, woman, and you don't need a man, and you can be independent. It's like, but there's nothing wrong with having that person to share your life with.
And if you're I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt you here. And all of that instantly falls through when you look at single mothers out there because
Mhm.
they have to raise a kid alone. They have to still work,
Right.
so for them to say that it's not possible, single moms are doing it all the time.
Mhm.
So your argument falls through, people.
Right.
It's not easy for them. I mean, it's probably the hardest job out there trying to do that by themselves. But you know what? They do it.
Right. And I'm sure, and I would be surprised if any of those single mothers could honestly say that they enjoy that they enjoy taking up every bit of their time, having minimal time with their kids, and not having anyone to share that life with. I know that there's people, and I'm sure you could find them all over fucking TikTok and Twitter, that would say, "Oh, I don't need a I'm happy and I'm this and I'm that." It's like, well, I think if you really looked inside yourself and thought like, man, I could really use an extra pair of caring hands, or maybe, someone that would, give me a little bit more free time, and I feel like even in like a normal relationship, men have to multitask in that way ever. They have to be the career, providers, and they have to, be emotionally strong and support, their loved ones, and, many other things. But I mean, those two pretty big. I mean, I know you know, I'm the one who's out there working for the time being. My wife is going to be a surgical technician very very soon, so she'll probably be the breadwinner after that. But for the time being, like while she's in school, like I'm doing all that. Plus, I have to like sort of maintain, this equilibrium in the house because school gets stressful, the kids get stressful, and I take on that responsibility because I know that everyone will be happier down the line. We all have multiple roles to play, and to say that you have to choose one over the other is just wrong, and that you have to give up, you have to be this single mom, or you have to be this single person, you can't have a family. It's just objectively wrong. And I don't know, when it again, it's degrading the culture that we have right now. And I hope that people find their way through the nonsense that is on the internet. And I'm pretty confident that most of what we see is just the loud vocal minority. And I think most people are sensible, like you and I, and a lot of the people in our communities. But I don't know. It certainly seems hopeless sometimes when you doom scroll Twitter. I don't know about you, but
And I do want to go back. I want to make a little comment on
of
the one
course.
comment about having to give up your dreams or whatever.
Mhm.
There's like life is basically a roadmap, and everybody has their own like order of how they do things. So whether you decide to get an education or learn trade skills or whatever first, and then become a parent, and then after you're done with once your kids are out of the house, then use all of your life experience to go towards that dream. Or maybe some people become parents first and then go and get the skills and work and then meet the dream. I mean, it's just a checkpoint, and you can do it in
Right.
whatever order works for you. That doesn't mean that once you hit one checkpoint the roadmap ends. That's not like your finish line.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and what you'll know when you'll realize is like kids are a constant skill check for you. Um, it's like having the child is not the end of anything. It's actually the beginning of every test that you'll have, because we've gone through these things 1,000 times in our past. But now it's our job to impose this rule set and understanding of the world to a human who has never come across this stuff. And it's a pretty wild experience because, I mean, you take things for granted, like something as simple as holding a glass and drinking a glass of water. And kids need to be taught how to do that. Um, and and as they get older, it becomes a little easier because they start to understand the world around them. But I mean, every single thing you have to teach them, everything. There's nothing that they really. I mean, again, the things really necessary for them to take care of themselves. Like you got to figure out how to get them to to wash themselves, to feed themselves, to drink. Um, and it seems silly, but again, it's just one giant skill check from the time they're born until I guess the time you die. They're always bothering you. It's the hardest and it's the most beautiful thing that one can experience. It's and I wish everyone could experience. I know not everyone will, and that's fine. Like everyone has the potential to be a parent, but not everyone should be a parent type thing. Um, but it's beautiful, and I don't know what your plans are if you can or whatever. You definitely don't have to share, but it's something that it's just it's a wonderful experience, and again whether or not like someone can actually have kids, there's so many children in foster care right now that need good parents, and that is a place that people need to start looking to, and because there's many great kids out there and some bad kids that don't have never had the opportunity to be in a stable home, and that's the best thing you could do for a human.
Which
um
again goes back to structure.
mhm,
They need that structure.
right. Yeah, if this boils down to anything tonight, it's structure. That is the key word of the night. Structure for your children, for yourself. I mean,
Hmm.
I know for me is I've seen great growth over the last like 9 months that I've been live streaming on Twitch again. And it's because I've given myself structure and I've given my audience structure, saying I will be here on these days, barring that I'm not sick or, doing something important with my family, but I will be there and you can count on that. And because of that, people come back and they say, "Oh, what's Tom doing tonight? What are we playing now? Like, oh, how, is he still yelling at his monitor because he sucks at Dark Souls? Whatever it is. Like the structure I've given myself, um, and to my family has made my life way easier. Um, yeah. So keyword tonight, everyone, structure
The word of
and
the day.
right. Structure and discipline. Discipline is
Hmm.
another like aspect of it for sure. Um, but well, we ran a little. I usually like to keep this about an hour. We ran about 20 minutes over. Um, but I do want to thank you, Terry, for coming and talking shop with us tonight, because it's good to have another perspective on here. I'm used to just talking to myself and occasionally chat. So this was pretty good. How did everyone else like it? How did you like it?
I enjoy it. I mean, I just enjoy doing podcasting in general. I like sharing different opinions and views on things. You know,
Hmm.
and it's always good to hear other perspectives. So.
Yeah, I think I mean, that's one of the goals. And for those who don't know, Terry and I are part of the Cancel the Culture stream team on Twitch, which was originally created by Gothics. And if you don't know Gothics, you should look her up on YouTube. You should look her up on Twitch. And we were basically a group of people who were sick of cancel culture and people not being able to speak their minds when they wanted to, and just being attacked constantly from left and right. So our job was supposed to, sort of form this team of like-minded people in order to just talk about things we wanted to talk about and not have to follow the mainstream line of thought. And it's been a long time coming to really get something moving, and I'm hoping that we'll have more people join. Terry, you're welcome back anytime that you want to do this.
I would love it. I would love it. And then hopefully, soon I'll have my webcam and stuff working again.
Yes. Yes, she does actually have a face, I promise. She normally when do you normally stream, Terry?
Normally I stream Mondays through Fridays, 6 p.m. to midnight Eastern time on
Okay.
Twitch, and then I have like a podcast I'm part of on YouTube called Good Morning Xbox, and that's 9 a.m. to noon on Sundays.
Okay. And any other projects you got going on?
Well, not really. I mean, I have my own podcast as well that I do randomly when I can fit it in. But otherwise,
Okay.
yeah, and that one's called Just a Glimpse. If anyone wants to just look it up, it's on Spotify and Google and Apple and all those places.
It's called Just a Glimpse.
Just a glimpse. It's just a glimpse into my mind, and where I share my view on things that I'm passionate about, whether it's gaming or something political that cheesed me off for the day. Movies. I got a couple episodes where I, watched some popular movies and I just completely ranted and broke them down and called them out on all the Hollywood BS, and people find them quite entertaining.
Nice. Yeah, that's something I've been trying to get back into because I was doing a podcast. I have like 3 or 4 episodes, I think, of it. It's called The Dad Diaries, and it was just like random thoughts about parenting and like my own struggles as a dad sometimes. And but yeah, it was just my own lazy. It kind of fell by the wayside because I was just lazy and wasn't I didn't keep up with it. But it was such a fun like 10 or 15 minute episode, really easy. I would just share a story about something going on or something I would see about parenting and then comment on it.
It sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, it was fun. I need to get back into it because it's something that, I mean, I'm a dad, 365, 24/7. So like there's no shortage of things to talk about. And being someone who's a little bit more emotional about stuff, like there were some really cool moments. And I think I can't remember one of the last ones I did. I don't think I've talked about it yet, but one of the next ones I want to do is to talk about how kids are, they grow up like in the blink of an eye. They're just, they're really hard to start. And then all of a sudden they're this 4, 5, 6-year-old kid who is just talking to you and doesn't fit into any of the little clothes anymore. And it's such a weird feeling. And like what happens is you just wake up one day and that moment is over. You get notifications from like Google Photos, and they're like, "Hey, remember this 4 years ago when he was just a baby?" And then you sit there and weep over your phone because you're like, "Oh my god, he's not that small." Oh, so, but yeah. So tonight was great. Thank you again, Terry. Again, guys, you can follow me obviously here on YouTube. Make sure you guys hit the subscribe button, little notification bell. You'll be known. Oh wow, I can't even talk. I'll let you know every single time we post a video. I've been doing about 2 videos a month. That number is quickly going up as I sort of snowball the content creation feeling. I finish one, I feel good. We've been doing a lot of clips from Twitch. So my Twitch stream goes live Friday through Monday, excuse me, between 9 p.m. Mountain Standard Time and 1 a.m. or midnight, depending on how I'm feeling that day. We're pretty consistent with that. Obviously, this week has been kind of weird because I've been sick. There will not be a Twitch stream after this today. This will be it. I have a sick little boy that I need to go make sure gets taken care of, and I need to make sure I get some sleep tonight. But that's it. Another week or two, and we'll have some more stuff to talk about here on Here Today, Gone Tomorrow. Again, thank you, Terry, for joining me tonight. And thank you, everyone in the chat, for being on it and being here and chatting with us. We will see everyone next time. Thank you.